Hello my friends, it's Gabriel with the Last Huntsman channel here. I am super pleased today. I designed up a knife a little while ago and I've been doing a lot of vigorous testing on it before I brought it to video. And the knife that I designed up and had Bear Force Knives make is, I call it the Huntsman Bowie. Let's check it out. Alright, so the Huntsman Bowie is overall right at about 13 inches. It has a 7.5 inch blade, so roughly about the same size as like a BK7, a Becker BK7, or like a Cold Steel Recon Scout. You know, a little bigger than an SE6, kind of give you a size comparison. But what I wanted with this knife was something that was equally a survival knife and a fighting knife. And what I also wanted was something that mixed kind of modern aesthetics with the classic kind of pseudo coffin shape handle. And I got most of that here. There's a few little critiques that I would have, mostly with the handle. The blade is amazing. The way the blade has been done is absolutely amazing. The speaking of that, the blade steel that was used was 52-100, and it's 3/16 thick. High saber grind that just kind of comes in, and there's kind of this. It's not sharpened, but it's kind of a false edge swedge, which obviously that'll chew up your baton, but you know, I like it a lot. And so let's test this knife out some. So a task I'm going to try here with the Huntsman Bowie is I'm going to do some notch making here. There I have a nice little square notch. I'm trying to make something that I would use for a tent stake. This thing bites in really good with that high, super high saber grind. Alright, task I'm going to do here with the Huntsman Bowie is I'm going to do some delimbing, and then use some of these leafy green limbs for some concealment for my little shack out here. With that broad blade though, this knife chops, slices really well, which is why I designed it that way. Just letting you guys know, the broader a blade is, usually, and the higher up the grind is, usually the better it's going to perform certain things like slicing and chopping. I'm just going to do some steak making here and just kind of chop into this wood here. So I wanted kind of a medium-sized tactical survival knife. Kind of something roughly the size of the Becker BK7, roughly, is what I wanted. I think I pretty well got that sizing right. Something to take note on is that flare at the end of the handle is really good to just kind of choke back and get some good chopping in. Now this is a pretty seasoned piece of wood too, so and I got it to a point. Alright, so I got this old, just dying cedar tree here, and I'm going to try to cut it down using only my Huntsman Bowie. As you can see, every bit about 4 inches in diameter or so, 3.5, 4 inches. So I'm going to cut it down, and then eventually I'll cut it out the rest of the way up and use it for firewood and such. But I'm just going to see what I can do with this knife. Timber, right? Took about 3 minutes or so. So obviously I would normally grab an axe or something larger if I was going to cut down something this big, but it did do it. And for it being a 7.5 inch blade, it actually performs pretty well. Oh, well, there we go. So actually that spine is sharp enough to strike a ferro rod. So I'm not going to make a fire just because it's hot out here. So I'm just going to burn this grass up and call it good. So this thing stabs really good. Let's put that 52-100 steel to the test, huh? That was almost an inch in. Alright, so something I'm going to take note on too with the Huntsman Bowie here is that this 52-100 steel, I was like not really sure what my opinion was with 52-100 steel when I first heard about it. Bear Forest Knives kind of suggested it, so I decided I'll give it a try. I'm actually very impressed with 52-100 steel. I actually had one experience with it with a little simple knife that he made as well, but this knife, after doing all that thrashing, and I've cut down 2 trees, I mean, quite frankly, I beat the shit out of this knife, and it still, I don't know if you could hear that. I don't got very dark arm hair, but the thing is still shaving hair right off my arm. So I'm actually pretty impressed with this steel, and also just to give Bear Force Knives some credit. His heat treatment and his process for working with that particular steel. Alright, so another task I'm going to try here, just some kind of slicing, just kind of get a feel for the edge alignment and edge angles and all that. And this thing is a high saber grind. As you can see, it's just a super high saber grind. It's almost a full flat grind, really. But I really like this grind on here. This thing, for it being such a big knife, it actually slices very well. Alright, so another design element that I wanted with this knife was not only a major attitude readjusting pommel with the spike on it and such, and that's kind of the tactical window breaking, you know, breaching kind of element that I wanted to it, but also I wanted that just big flare, because I didn't want this thing to leave my hand. Like when I choke back on it and I'm chopping, I did not want it to leave my hand, and it gives a good secondary handle, so I can kind of grip it like so, or I can kind of grab it just by that flare back there and just really get some power out of it, which it's a 7-inch blade, so kind of expect BK7 ability as far as chopping, although I think the grind is a little better on this. But this knife here can chop really well for its size. Alright, so like I said originally, when I designed this knife, I wanted something that was both kind of a modern design and a classic design with like the coffin shaped handle. Overall, I think I got that. It's light, quick in hand. It's a I wanted something that was both a survival and fighting knife. So we're just going to do a little bit of you know, pseudo knife fighting stuff just to kind of see how it feels in hand here. Now the thing stabs really well, especially coming to that straight point with the false edge. When you use the thumb ramp here and the jimping, allows a lot of control. So overall, thing feels really great in hand. It's light, it's fast, so it would be a great potential survival slash fighting knife, which is exactly what I wanted. Okay, so another thing to discuss about the Huntsman Bowie here is that the sheath here. Now the original sheath that came from Bear Force Knives was one of his typical sheaths that kind of flares out in the back, and it has like the two little parts that splits open so you can kind of pull it out like so. While that was a really good sheath, one of my friends, Troy Meyer with Steath Concealment holsters and sheaths around the Sedalia, Missouri area, he offered to make it. He seen this knife, really liked it, offered to make a sheath for me. So he did, and this one is more of a taco style sheath, and I put the SE Molly back on there with some 550 cord wrapped around it, and it's actually a pretty neat little setup. So yeah. If you're around the area, you might check him out. So something else, you know, I wanted just a really quick agile blade with the Huntsman Bowie. So I'm just going to play with some of these hedge apples here and just see if I can get some clean cuts on them. Maybe if I could hit the damn thing. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Get a good patina on that Huntsman Bowie, right? Well, my friends, that's for the most part, it for the Huntsman Bowie. Now, this is just a prototype design, but I'd like to know your guys' thoughts. Would something like this be interesting to you all? Would you all be, you know, like something like this? I don't know. Let me know. I'm kind of looking for a company, or maybe even Bear Force Knives to produce something like this as like one of their production models. Like I said, I would probably change up the handle just a little bit, but that's why you deal with productions or prototypes sometimes, is so you can kind of figure out some of the quirks with something before you actually make it into production. So with all that being said, be prepared both physically and spiritually. God bless. Carry on.